Welcome into this reaction show on Live from the Plains. I am Daniel Locke. This is Logan Fowler. Happy Sunday to everyone. I hope you're having a better Sunday than me, as my New Orleans Saints just fell to the Atlanta Falcons, giving the Falcons a 56-55 advantage in the all-time series between the two teams. It was tied going into this game. I'm sure our good friends Matthew Wallace of the Auburn Villager and Patrick Bingham of the Auburn Plainsman of 247 Sports will be eager to let me hear about this one. Um, Coming to you the day after Auburn falls to Oklahoma, but a lot to unpack here. Logan, how's your Sunday going?
Pretty good, man. Tuned in to the Saints and Falcons game also. That was before I took a little bit of a nap unexpectedly, but that was not to say that that was not a good game. It was a pretty good game. 20 was it 26-24 final?
Yeah,
Yeah, so all is well over here. Nothing to complain about.
that's good. My Sunday started off great. Went to ACC this morning. Absolutely love ACC. If you ever see Logan and I at church, please come say hello to us. Anywhere you see us, please come say hello to us. But particularly there, that's always a good place. But yeah, um, now we're here. Not even gonna reflect back on the Saints game anymore. I'll get too upset. So the Auburn Tigers keep finding ways to lose. This time, 27-21 to the Oklahoma Sooners, the number 21 team in the country. I haven't looked at the new AP poll yet, but I imagine they climbed a little bit.
I haven't even looked either.
All right, if you want to look that up,
Yep.
I'll keep talking. um, Unlike the Cal and Arkansas games, this was not a home game that Auburn was favored to win. At least they were kind of expected to lose this game.
Alabama has jumped up to number one.
Oh wow!
Texas falls to 5.
You mean Georgia?
I mean, yeah, Georgia. Um, Oklahoma bumped up only 2 spots to 19.
Okay, that's about what I expected. Yesterday's win was good, but not good enough to make substantial headway, in my opinion. But anyway, Auburn had this one won for a long time, for 52 minutes.
Yeah,
Auburn was firmly in the driver's seat.
more like 55 and a half minutes.
Fair enough.
I mean, that was what was it, 4 minutes left when Thorne threw the pick, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean Auburn had this one in the bag. Kind of like what we talked about previously, like a week ago. This team just kind of finds a way to shoot itself in the foot. Um, if you watch the Georgia and Alabama game last night, which I'm sure everybody did, that was a battle to the end because a good team is going to find a way to win a football game.
Mhm.
Well, the same can be said for Auburn in the fact that a bad team is going to find a way to lose a football game. Um, Auburn is a bad football team so far. There's that's just how it is. They've been so close time and time again, um, and they've just coming up short every time. I was actually sitting beside some of the guys on the Oklahoma beat yesterday during the box, or during the game, um, and it was about 6 minutes left, and they were like, "Well, this one kind of looks all but over," and I was like, "Well, I wouldn't write it off yet. I haven't." Auburn's bound to do something stupid here in a minute to give this game away. And sure enough, about 2 minutes later, there it came. Um, but obviously it was Peyton Thorne that threw the pick six to give them the lead. Um, Peyton Thorne played a pretty good football game yesterday. He definitely gave them every chance to win, in my opinion. I mean, he was a serviceable quarterback yesterday.
Mhm.
Uh, he finished with 338 yards on 21 completions, and obviously the connection between him and Keandre Lambert Smith was there. So I mean, they played a good game. Um, you know, the biggest question mark I think about yesterday is the coaching decisions
Yeah.
that obviously Freeze was asked about it in the presser yesterday. Um, why are you throwing the ball in that situation? You know, why is Thorne even tasked with the decision of, hey, should I hand this off or should I even think about throwing it? Um, there's really no excuse for that, in my opinion, especially with the new helmet and helmet communication. Um, it just kind of seems like so far, you look at that situation yesterday. Freeze should have handed the ball off to the best player on his offense and Jarquez Hunter.
Yeah.
Um, you look at yesterday, just a whole lot of missed opportunities. Obviously, Towns Magoo missed 2 field goals, left 6 points on the board. But you go back to, I guess it was the first drive of the game. They get all the way to the 1 yard line. They had 3 shots inside the 5 yard line, yet they trotted out a wildcat formation with Sam Jackson that they have not ran all year. Um, and get stuffed 3 consecutive times. Thorn took a run in between the two Sam Jackson plays. But what are you doing not handing the ball off to Jarquez Hunter 3 times in a row in that situation? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that reminds me of, Super Bowl 49 when,
yeah,
Pete Carroll has one of the best running backs of all time, certainly the best running back in the game at that point, and Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, and doesn't hand it off to him and opts to throw, and, personally, like, I'm very happy with how that Super Bowl ended up, but that's besides the point. Um,
right. I
yeah,
mean, but like, yeah, it's just he took accountability for the loss yesterday as he has for most of these losses this season. Um, he said, "I'm super proud of the way that our guys played. This ultimately falls on me." And I've never heard truer words because that one falls on Freeze and some of the coaching decisions that were made throughout that game.
Yeah, and kind of going on past just this week, the implications of this loss are really, really prominent because now to get the 6 wins, you need to take care of business against ULM and Vanderbilt at home in November. Like that's obvious. You still need to do that anyway. But at that point, you only have four. So you need to take one of these road games against Georgia, Missouri, and Kentucky. Obviously, in my opinion, there's one that's much more in play than the other two, but they went on the road and upset the number 6 team in the country yesterday. Kentucky did. So there's none of those three are easy. So then, but you would need one. You would need to beat Texas A&M at home the week before Alabama, and like I said, you would need those 2 wins against ULM and Vanderbilt, and that's your path to 6 wins. That doesn't really look. I don't know what the likelihood on that happening is, like, from a percentage standpoint at this point, but I guarantee you it's less than 20%.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a couple of different times on the show. The path after the Arkansas game and the path after this Oklahoma game just doesn't get any easier for Freeze. Uh,
No.
and like I've said, I don't really think there's any excuse for Auburn to have a loss on its record
Mm-mm.
up to this point. Um, just every game has been shooting themselves in the foot. I really don't think it's a terrible football team.
I don't think so either, which is kind of what makes covering it so frustrating.
Right, because it's like, what is like I said, I mean, there's just always something with this team. They find a way to lose. They're a bad football team. They find a way to lose. That's just how it is. But like I've said before, with how everything's playing out, if you walked into this game 5-0, obviously you're still not banking on a win in Athens next week, even with the loss to Tuscaloosa last night. But they've showed in the first half against Alabama. They showed in the game against Kentucky. You can beat them.
Yeah,
Uh, they're not indestructible. Then you go to Missouri, they're beatable, very very beatable football team. You go to Kentucky, they're not a great football team. Um, you come back and you had Vandy, you got A&M. Neither one of those teams are world beaters. I mean, your wins were there, and I
yeah,
think that's the most puzzling thing about this team is, you
yeah.
know, they were the wins were there. You could stack them up, um, and they just haven't came so far.
There was a very real chance that this Auburn team could be 7-1 going into the month of November, with back-to-back games against Vanderbilt and ULM to get that up to 9-1, heading into those last two games against Texas A&M, which could have been a win, really. And then Alabama, you still probably lose that, but there was a 10-2 was on the table. It really was for
Yeah,
this team.
it was. Um,
And I don't think anyone had 3-9 or 4-8 as their floor. Sorry, allergy
no,
season.
I didn't think that this team was. I definitely thought this team was going bowling.
I did too.
Yeah,
Even if it was in Birmingham, um, yeah, or Charlotte, I still had full confidence that this team was going to make a bowl game. And then now, like I was saying earlier, there's probably a less than 20% chance on the high side of that happening,
yeah,
which is just really not what you want if you're Hugh Freeze in year two,
no,
because you don't want to go backwards on the field. Like
right.
last year, you win 6 games, you do enough in the regular season to have the chance to go bowling. The bowl game, went how it went, but I don't
Obviously,
know.
last year was a rough season. Um, obviously the loss to New Mexico State. Um, but he showed, last year, hey, I can compete with the Georgias and Alabamas of this world. I
Yeah,
mean, he had both of them beat for, you know, the whole game against them, those two teams last year. So I think that the optimism surrounding this season was high, and the thing that's so deflating for people involved with the Auburn football program, the fans, is just the obviously the regression up to this point. Um, but that's just how it is. But I
not
mean,
really a whole lot to say here, in my opinion.
there's really not. I'm thinking like, what were your thoughts yesterday on the game?
Um, it didn't look like either side really showed up to. Oh, okay. I was about to say it didn't really look like either side showed up ready to play. Oklahoma looked ready to play on their first offensive possession that ended with a 48-yard touchdown run by Michael Hawkins Jr. And at that point, I was like, oh man, like Auburn could be in deep, you know what here. But then they, answered back eventually,
Yeah,
took a 14-7 lead into the break, and then had a two-score lead in the fourth quarter. And I was like, okay, like Auburn will be 3-2 heading into Athens and got some momentum going into that game, even though the Cal and the Arkansas games went as they went. And then this is the situation that kind of crept into my mind yesterday with about 7 or 8 minutes left in the Auburn game. Is I was thinking like, okay, what would need to happen for Georgia to be in their most vulnerable spot next week? At first, I was thinking, okay, if Alabama just absolutely boat races them, that's not it, because then they're just going to be pissed off. If they win, that could be it. Like that could have been good for Auburn if Georgia had won that game last night, because then they would just coming off an emotional win. That almost always puts a team in a vulnerable spot for some reason. Or if Georgia lost in heartbreaking fashion, which it I guess kind of did. Like it was down like what 28 to
28
something.
nothing.
Yeah, they were down 28 nothing. Came all the way back, took the lead for a little bit before Jalen Milroe let Alabama down to take the win. So if that had happened, Georgia's demoralized going into the next week, and Auburn's got a little bit of confidence built up from this game. I mean, who really knows? But now, I mean, you're 2-3 going on the road. You've dropped 3 of your last 4 games, and they were all at home. Like, you haven't had to leave the friendly confines yet. And now you've got to go play your second biggest rival on the road. And, one of the toughest atmospheres in all of college football. And just a real tough place to play in Sanford Stadium. A place Auburn hasn't won since, I don't know, do you know?
It's been 20 years, I think.
Yeah, sounds right.
I
Yeah, I
wa-
guess it would have won in 04.
yeah, it's something. It's been a while. Yeah. So I mean, looking at that game yesterday, kind of like you said, Oklahoma came out of the gate. Hawkins took off for the 48-yard touchdown run, and like you, I was thinking, oh gosh, like this doesn't look too good. But then the defense settled in. I mean, the defense really did play their tails off for the majority of that game. They forced 5 straight punts. 3 of those were 3 and outs. Um, and it's what's so weird for me watching this Auburn football team, and it's just a big question where I can't really figure out why. But if you look at Auburn's games that they've lost, especially the Arkansas game, Auburn beats the opposing team in just about every statistical category on the stat sheet. Um, they outgained Oklahoma yesterday by nearly 200 yards. 482 yards of total offense for Auburn compared to Oklahoma's 291. They had Michael Hawkins Jr. They only threw the ball 15 times. Oklahoma did. He threw for 161 yards, but 60 of that came on the one deep shot there at the very end of the game. I mean, they had him bottled up for the most part. That defense was holding firm. Um, it's just, you know, you're not putting points on the board. The offense is not. They like I've said before, they have no trouble moving the ball up and down the field. The points are just not there. And obviously with Magoo having a rough day and then the missed opportunity on 4th and goal, if those things fall your way, then you're probably celebrating a win right now if you're Auburn. Um, but it's not just yesterday. I mean, this goes back to Cal and to the Arkansas loss too.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's
Just
weird.
not what you want at all.
It's weird.
So, kind of moving on here, what do you think? Do you think yesterday had any effect on Hugh Freeze's status? Or actually, status isn't the right word. As Matthew Wallace put it, is the hot seat starting to warm up? Or not, is the seat starting to warm up? I would have to say yes. I mean, you're 2-3. You went 6-7 last year. You've said like you've got a better team. Um, or actually, I would assume that Freeze has made a comment like that at some point. Like I don't want to quote him. Like I can't think of one off the dome. Um, but you were expected to be a better football team this year, and you didn't have nearly the schedule you had a year ago.
Right.
Um, man, like I just
Yeah. So the seat is getting warm. Yes. Um, I would think. Now you go back, John Cohen was on the Feinbaum show on Friday, and he said, I believe we're in a great spot. I love where this program is right now. We're in a much better spot than we were a year or two ago. Um, Despite the results, this program is moving upward. Um, I disagree with Mr. John Cohen. I really do. This program is not in a good spot right now, um, to my eyes. Like I just mentioned, I mean, there's been nothing but regression thus far, and it's not getting any easier. He went out and he got his guys he wanted on his offensive staff. You know, his excuse with Thorne last year was, well, the guys around him aren't talented enough. Well, he brought talent in. The talent in the receiver room is there. Talent at the running back position is there. Revamped offensive line. They haven't looked as bad as Auburn offensive lines have in the past.
Right.
Defense has played pretty well thus far. I mean, they've definitely kept you in every game. And like the loss yesterday, the coaching decisions made in that football game is what cost you.
I would agree.
So ultimately, yes, I mean the seat's got to be getting warmer for Freeze. Now, that's not to say that I think that Freeze is going to be canned after this year, despite a 3-9, 4-8 record. That would be a
Yeah,
terrible, terrible thing for Auburn. And then the seat is on fire, I would
yeah.
think. But I just don't see a world in where Freeze is not the coach at Auburn in 2025.
I would agree with that. I think his job for this season's secure, even if Auburn were to go 3-4 or 3-4, 3-9 or 8 or 3-9 or 4-8. Sorry, it's a rough numbers day for me. Um, but I feel like if that were the case, then the expectation for 2025 is 8 or 9 wins.
And you got the same schedule as you do this year for
With
next year
Alabama and Georgia at home.
with Alabama and Georgia at home. Um, you start off with Baylor, I think. I mean, that's not a program on the rise right now.
No,
Um,
but then again,
so
neither is
yeah,
Cal. And look what
you get a
happened there.
more right. You get a more favorable schedule next year than you do this year.
If this Auburn team has taught me anything in the last 2 years, it's that you can never chalk a win up as a or chalk a game up as a win before it happens.
Right.
Never, ever, ever. That's why I'm not even doing that with ULM.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You can't. You can't.
But then just kind of this is always interesting to talk about. If for whatever reason Auburn does decide to part ways with Hugh Freeze, I'm not in any way suggesting that that is what should happen at all at this point. But if they were to do that at the end of this season, who do you bring in? Because you and I, we were watching the Miami Virginia Tech game together the other night, and we were kind of talking about who would want the job. Barely anyone wanted it in 2020. Even fewer people wanted it in 2022.
Yeah, I mean,
So if
it's not a top job in college football.
no,
Um, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to speculate on anything so far out. So I have no idea, really. You're not going to go out and get a top guy,
no,
in college football. That's not happening. You're still paying off the previous two coaches
I
from
thought they had paid off Malzahn by now.
till January of 25. I'm pretty sure.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
So this is you. You don't want to. If you're Auburn, you don't want to become the new age Tennessee.
No,
Um, and they're on the brink of that with a Freeze firing. So that's not where you want to be at. Obviously, no program wants to fire coaches after every 2 years. Um, but the results just aren't there. And the thing is I totally understand. Freeze inherited a dumpster fire at Auburn. Um, Inherited the worst roster that probably any coach incoming has ever inherited. He took over for arguably the worst coach in Auburn football history. So, I mean, no one expected a national championship in 2 years or in year two. But with that being said, I think that's kind of why he has a little bit of a grace period is strictly because of the Harsin era.
Mhm.
But I mean, I just go back to the results right now have absolutely nothing to do with Brian Harsin.
I would agree.
So I mean, the losses that are stacking up in the freeze there are becoming pretty bad. They're I mean they are. Um, I don't know. I don't think he's going anywhere this year. I don't want to speculate on that, to be honest, because we have no idea. And obviously, they can turn things around this season. I mean, they could go out
Sure.
and win out every game, and then Auburn people would be riding high, and they love freeze. So, um, I that's such a puzzling and trick, a question, honestly.
Yeah, I did kind of throw a tough one at you there.
That is.
Um, but yeah, I would agree with pretty much everything you said. It is tough to speculate, and I don't think the grace period's run out yet. The deadline's approaching.
Yeah, deadline's very fastly approaching.
Um, Sort of like me, like I've got a paper due at the end of this week that I haven't even thought about. But I don't think papers scare you or I as much as they do the average college student because we write every day.
Yeah, but this some papers are kind of hard. Like I wrote a literature paper one time,
Mhm.
and it is totally different than writing a gamer. I
Sure.
don't know if you knew that or not. But some papers are kind of weird.
I would agree. Mine's on like global press freedom, something like that. I don't know. I'll begin that tomorrow probably.
Global press.
Actually, no. Maybe that'll be a Tuesday thing. I'll start Tuesday. Yeah. That was so random. I don't know why I brought that up. Um that's just the kind of day it is on Live from the Plains.
Not a whole lot of action to talk about regarding football.
No. No. Um the NASCAR race is going pretty good. That's something.
Yeah, well, I know nothing about that, so
Yeah. That's not what we're here to talk about. Um it's the last day of the MLB regular season. The Red Sox were disappointing this year.
yeah, they were.
Actually,
They,
compared to what they were supposed to be, I'll take this.
honestly, I don't keep up with any MLB anymore really until the postseason either.
Yeah.
I gotta pick up my game.
Well, it should be a pretty exciting postseason this year, I think.
We'll
But
see.
yeah, maybe we'll sprinkle in some Major League Baseball coverage here and there. Probably not, because this is an Auburn sports podcast. But if we have more time like this, where Auburn keeps losing and we're struggling to find stuff to talk about.
Hey, it's only about a month out until we'll be getting some pretty consistent basketball content. So
Yeah, it's crazy that Auburn's basketball exhibition against Florida Atlantic is before its next home football game.
sure is.
October,
Sure.
November 1st, I believe, is when they play FAU.
Mm-hmm. And then I mean they got to tip off at Tumors
Yes,
2 or 3 weeks. So
that'll be a good time.
I've never even. I know they did away with it. I don't. I know they didn't do it last year.
No, they didn't
I
do it in
think they did it.
2022 or 2023. They did it in 2021 because I went to that my freshman year.
Yeah, I mean that'll be pretty cool to see. I've never seen one of those in person. So
Yeah,
and what
I
they
got
got
a
somebody? Is it Cole Swindle?
yeah, Cole Swindell.
That'd be cool.
Should be
Swindell.
good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be some nice media access there. So that should be a fun time. But yeah, basketball season's fast approaching. I think that Auburn fans are more excited for basketball this year than they were in the 2022 dumpster fire season.
Yeah, well, I mean, this basketball teams. We talked about it the other night. I mean, they've got a pretty solid squad, I think. So
I
it
think so too.
should be exciting to get to see them in action.
Yeah, as long as if they can score some points, I think that this team could get back to the second weekend of the tournament.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Obviously, it's September 29th. That'll be a March 20-ish conversation.
No, long way to go.
Yeah, unfortunately. Or no, we get to enjoy October and Halloween. I know how much you love to go trick or treating. Then
Yes.
we'll get to enjoy Thanksgiving. Then we'll get to enjoy Christmas, my favorite holiday, because I really enjoy decorating the house. I have quite an extensive amount of Christmas decorations, even here in Auburn, to put up. So I get started on a November 1st. Yeah. And to justify that, at home, I'm all for waiting until after Thanksgiving. Like, I get that. But here, after Thanksgiving, we come back for 2 weeks, and then we go home. So I'm not going to put all that effort in decorating, be able to enjoy it for 2 weeks, and then when I get back, have to immediately take it down. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just not going to do that. So maybe not November 1st, but November 10th. By the Texas A&M game, my house here will be decorated for Christmas.
Alrighty.
And I know how much you're looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, man. I mean, my house will not have any decorations in it, but
Well, you can use my old ones.
okay.
Yeah, I gotta spread the love around the holiday season.
To each
This is so off topic. We haven't talked about football in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's all right. Well, anything else?
No, I'm all good.
No, I think
Just,
I am too.
I mean, just obviously we'll get more into it on Thursday, but interesting to see if Auburn can go into Athens and be competitive.
Yeah. You and I will be making that trip. We're gonna do it in one day. We're gonna leave Auburn at about 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. Get to Athens about 11 o'clock local time, and have an hour and a half, 2 hours to, explore UGA before heading into Sanford Stadium to get the day started. So we're excited. Neither of us have ever been to Sanford Stadium, right? I know I haven't. I've been to Stegman Coliseum, but this will be my first time covering football in Athens, or even going to Athens for football in general. So I'm excited. If the demand is high, maybe we can do a pregame show of types on a live stream it on the car ride over there. I doubt the demand will be too high with College Game Day on.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to see that, let us know and we can try to rig something up. Why don't you let everyone know where they can find you and support what you've got going on?
Yeah. And written work with 1819 News and the Auburn Plainsman, and then go and give me a follow on Twitter X at Logan F. Fowler.
You can follow me on Twitter at Daniel J. Locke. You can give me a follow on Instagram at the Daniel Locke. I shared a pretty fire post today, if I do say so myself. Then you can find my written work at Auburn Tigers on SI.com. Some cool stuff went up today. My report card from the Oklahoma game, stock risers and fallers. And then tomorrow there will be some good stuff coming out. Got some basketball content with Bruce Pearl and Charles Barkley's media availabilities at the Bruce and Barkley golf tournament at Grand National in Opelika. So always good to catch up with old Chuck. So excited for that. But yeah, thank you for listening to Live from the Plains, and we'll speak with you again soon.